Hi guys, Owen Davis here from Golfshake.com, and today I'm going to be counting down my top 5 wedges for 2018. Okay, so in at number 5 is Ping's new Glide Stealth wedge. Now, the Glide's been around for a couple of years. A couple of versions of it have come through, proved very popular. The previous version I did like, and I like the fact that you can mix and match it into your set. But what they've done with the Stealth is they made it in a different colour material, so it's black, hence the Stealth name, I presume. This is anti-glare. This is going to stop that light bouncing up off the wedge into your face. So that's the first thing to think about. If you do like the Glide wedges, you need to make a decision about which one you want, whether you want the traditional looking chrome one or you want the Stealth one. The Stealth also has been used, they use an 8620 steel, so slightly softer steel. That's going to give you a bit more feedback around the greens, a bit of a softer feeling off the face. And also they've worked quite hard on the grooves with these wedges. So over time they've developed these, they've actually got a half groove lower down, giving you a little bit of extra spin. Some of the higher lofts, some of the higher grooves up have got a bigger wall, giving you more spin as well. So something that is really important. And also to maintain the spin, Ping have made these quite durable as well. So they've used a technique to make them a little bit more durable. So if you're one of those, you don't want to change your wedges every year or so, or maybe 18 months, you want a little bit of longevity out of your wedge, this could be one to go for. Not only that, they have several different grind options, 4 grind options, which is really important. So as ever, Ping, very much a custom fit company, have been doing that for a very long time. They would always advise you go and get these wedges custom fit. They've got a lot of stockists around the country. I think I've got 1,800 plus stockists in the UK. That number will be huge in the US. So go to your local Ping stockist, hit the stockist locator up, make sure you get these wedges fitted. They've got the grind options there for you to do that. And that's in at number 5. Okay, so the wedge in at number 4 on our list is Callaway's MACK 4 range of wedges. Now, as the name suggests, this is their 4th version of this wedge. They've been improving this year on year on year. And they've got 2 great people doing this. So they've got Roger Cleveland, obviously a wedge specialist, really knows his stuff about wedges, has been designing them for years and years and years and years. And he works very closely with Phil Mickelson, one of the best wedge players in the world. And there's a lot of tour feedback, not just from Phil Mickelson, but also from the rest of their tour staff. So they've got a lot of validation in there. And you can tell from this wedge, it is a good player's wedge. You look down and it's quite a small head, quite squat, quite a high toe. A lot of the things good players like to see in a wedge. And the story this year really is all about grooves. They have grooves within grooves. So you can see this, or you can feel it. You run your nail across one of the face of these. Go into your local pro shop. If they've got these in, if they're a Callaway stockist, run your nail down them. You can certainly see that. You can certainly feel that as well. This provides about 84 points of contact with the ball. So spin is a really big factor in these wedges. Not only that, they've got a lot of different grinds in there, a lot of different lofts, I think all the way through to a 64. Obviously Mickelson plays that wedge right the way through. 2 different colourways as well, colour finishes. So there's a huge amount of wedges in this range. Not only that, the CG positioning has been thought of. That moves up throughout the wedge set as well. To provide different contact points and different CD positions depending on the loft and how they think you're going to use that wedge. So a great offering from Callaway for 2018, and that's in at number 4. Okay, in at number 3 is a wedge that I have absolutely loved for a long time, and that is Cleveland's RTX 3 wedge. Now they brought this out back in 2016, I think, still in the lineup right now. And again, much like the other wedges in this video, it is a new version of an older wedge that they carry on improving. Now, Cleveland really are a wedge company. They're a specialist. I know they do other stuff as well, particularly in the US, but for me, they are a specialist wedge company, and that is what they are best at. They do a lot of learning into this. They get a lot of feedback, a lot of data to really help you understand how you how you need to improve your wedges and how you need to improve the R&D around that to get more consistency. And for me, they produced some great stuff on grooves, and this has a groove in it that has worked for me for a long period of time. I've used this wedge personally for quite a while, and I think it's held up really well. I play a lot of golf, hit a lot of wedge shots, did quite a bit of practice, and it's a groove that has really spun, really grabs, has held up really well. Also, they worked on the CG positioning quite extensively with this. They've moved it more towards the centre. You know, traditionally, wedges had a very long hosel. This has been shortened a bit, allowed them to save a bit of weight, move that weight further across to the centre of the club, and you get a lot of consistency out of that, and I think the distance control is great as a result. There's lots of different grind options as well, lots of different finishes as you'd expect from Cleveland, so well worth checking this one out. They have a lot of specialist fitters around the country. Really important that you go and speak to those. Make sure you get your grind options right, make sure you get your gapping right, and they'll really help you do that. So go into your local PGA pro and speak to them about this wedge, or any wedges actually in this video. Okay guys, number 2 on our list is Titleist Vokey SM7 wedges. Now, the SM6 were a massive leap forward for Titleist. I think they really did produce a fantastic range of wedges, and that was down to the CG positioning. That was them down to some learning that they'd gone through about how to lift up or lower down the CG positioning as you went up and down through the loft, and that changed the trajectory and what you wanted the wedges to do. So it made their 46-degree wedges, the traditional pitching wedge lofts, maybe their gap wedge lofts, a lot more powerful. And for me, that made the gapping into the full set a lot easier. So that was a big win for Titleist. I think that really did make a big difference and set them right up there as the very best wedges on the market. Now, SM7 is a refinement of that technology. They've taken some of the learning from SM6, really improved it a little bit, but there is no major changes to that. They've also improved the grooves. You're going to get a bit of extra spin out of there. And also there's some three different options in terms of the look and the finish of these wedges. And really it is the options that set Titleist apart from anyone else, or Vokey wedges apart from anyone else. They've got a huge number of grinds, 5-6 different grinds, huge number of loft options, 3 different finishes, as I said. So that means that you know there's just a massive amount of wedges to pick from in the range. And what that means is you need to go and get fitted for these wedges. I can't emphasize that enough. And that goes for all the wedges in this range, in fact, but especially so when you've got such a great amount of options. You need to use that to your benefits. You need to go into your local PGA pro. You need to talk to them about these. There's loads, like I said, there's loads of different grinds, and depending on how you pitch and swing the club, how you chip, that grind is going to make a massive difference to how that wedge performs. Also, the different conditions. We're on a course right behind me here. It's made of clay. The club's going to dig in a lot easier than, say, a sandy course. You know, it's all going to change the way that those bounces work, those sole grinds work. So you need to go and get fitted for these. Now, what I really recommend you do is, and hopefully the PGA Pro will do this, have a blind test. Just let them give you some of the different grinds, hit some different shots. You'll be able to zero in on which one is best for you. I went through this process with Titleist earlier this year, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. I said what grind I thought it was. I wasn't at all, completely different. Went through the process, came out with some different guides, and my chipping ever since I started putting these in play has been different. I get a lot more consistency in the way that I chip the ball. So guys, go and do that. Make sure you do that. You really will make a difference. It's worth the investment. Okay guys, number 1 on our list is a wedge from Cleveland. So this is a second Cleveland wedge on the list. And this might be a bit of a curveball for people. It is the Cleveland CBX. Now this is a cavity-backed wedge, very unusual. All the previous ones we've talked about are bladed wedges. Now, you know, I was a bit of a traditionalist. I would not necessarily have thought about putting this one in play. I still probably won't put it in play. But I think for the vast majority of golfers, this is going to be a fantastic wedge for you. So if you struggle with your ball striking, if you're a cavity-backed iron player, if you're a game improvement iron player, those irons are fantastic. They really help your game. They've got a lot of help in them. You go down to a wedge, suddenly you've got this kind of forged wedging, or this bladed wedge, sorry, in there, which is much harder to hit. You're not going to get the consistency out of it. So I think a cavity-backed wedge is a really good idea for an awful lot of golfers. So the CBX wedge has a lot of perimeter weighting around the outside. It obviously has a cavity in there and some shock dampening behind the face. Not only that, much like the RTX3, it's got some learning about CG positionings that's moved right into the centre of the wedge. A lot of good players tend to hit the wedge more out of the heel. You know, the centre of gravity has been traditionally out the heel on a lot of bladed wedges, and it hasn't moved for that reason. But for the average golfer, they hit it far more out the centre of the club when they're chipping, when they're pitching. And so Cleveland have taken that learning, moved that centre of gravity more towards the centre. And when I hit this, I was absolutely shocked. I was really surprised. I actually got a huge amount of consistency out of it. My distance control on the full shots especially was just so much better. I had this grouping where they were a few yards apart. I was getting that distance control that I wouldn't necessarily expect out of a bladed wedge. Where it maybe falls down a bit is round the greens. You're not going to get that same feel, that same feedback that you will out of a bladed wedge. But then again, why do you need that? You really want that consistency hitting into the greens. A lot of players really are trying to get it on the green, not necessarily really close to the pin. They're looking for that consistency so they can get it on the green, two-putt, get off, lower their handicaps. So I think this wedge really is a great option for an awful lot of golfers. It's well worth trying out. Again, there's lots of different options. You need to go and see your Cleveland stockist. He will advise you whether you need this wedge or whether actually you're much better off with an RTX3 or one of the other bladed wedges on this list, but they will be able to advise you as to which one is best for you. Guys, as ever, we'd love to know your thoughts on this list. Please don't forget to comment below. If you've got any technical questions, any questions on grinds and different lofts, I will do my best to answer those. Grinds are hugely complex, very much a personal preference, but if you need to know a little bit about that, don't forget to comment below. I'll do my best to answer any questions on that that you may have. As ever, if you enjoyed the video and you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. We're going to do lots more videos just like this in 2018, and we'll see you next time.